Turning back now to the nation's capital, President Donald Trump's big, beautiful bill is back in the House today after the Senate narrowly passed it yesterday. The votes were tied 50-50, forcing Vice President J.D. Vance, of course, to cast the tie-breaking vote there.
House Speaker Mike Johnson is hoping for a vote on the sweeping spending bill as soon as today. For more insight into how this bill could impact you, right now we're joined by Dr. Fred Floss, an economics professor at Buffalo State University. Fred, welcome back.
Thank you.
It is, of course, in the title, but this is, in fact, a very big bill. There is a lot in it. What are your biggest takeaways?
Well, first, I think that New York State is going to be overly hurt by this bill. One of the things that the House had originally in the bill was the SALT provisions, which was the state and local tax deductions. That was supposed to be $40,000, and it's now been knocked down to $10,000. So that means New York is again going to be the state that gives the federal government the most money and gets the least money back.
And we are hearing the details of the bill, cuts to Medicaid health care, as well as additions, a lot of money going to, of course, defense spending. How are you looking at that mixed in with the Trump tariffs? I know you like to look at a global sort of view of things. When you take into consideration the tariffs and what the president wants to do with the big, beautiful bill, what are you seeing here?
Buffalo's in trouble because we can see that Canadians are not coming to Western New York. This should be, because it was Canada Day on Monday, this should have been one of the larger days for Canadians to come to Western New York. And while some did, it's not anywhere near what we would normally see. So the discussions that are happening really are hurting Western New York more than most other places. The big concerns here are not just Medicaid, which will hurt our hospitals, and in New York State, the estimate is up to 75 hospitals will close. I don't think people realize that. And with SNAP, the concern is that that's money that goes to about 22,000 of our children in Western New York. So they're going to go hungry. And along with the money that was cut from the schools for food, children used to go to school just to eat. That food isn't going to be there anymore. So I wonder what's going to happen to children as we go back into the school year. It could be a very, very difficult year for us.
A big part of the bill, a lot of people are talking about no tax on tips, overtime pay. How exactly would that work?
Well, a couple of things, and I'm not sure it's going to help people in Western New York. Most workers who get tips don't declare them anyways, so therefore they weren't being taxed. So allowing for tax deductibility isn't going to help very much. It may help restaurants that have very high-end wait staff that are making a lot of money and make a lot of tips. But for the average person working in a Western New York restaurant or bar, this should have very little impact on them at all.
Okay, so you are, of course, highlighting the warning signs here economically, but you look at the markets are doing great. The S&P 500 just hit a record high recently. The Dow Jones up yet again, and it has been up. So how do you square what's happening with the markets and what could potentially happen with the passage of this bill if it does pass?
I think we've got to be very, very careful when looking at the markets. They're a leading economic indicator, but they're also an indicator of what people are guessing is going to happen. And because there's so much chaotic behavior going on and we're not quite sure what's happening, we don't know and the market doesn't know. The other problem, if we're looking at the Dow, for example, that's only a few stocks. Most of them are high-tech stocks. So if we look back and see what's happening to the stocks of an average company, they're not doing quite as well. And so we should realize that as we look at this, and people should be very careful about where they put their 401k.
There has been the question of whether or not this would affect the country's national debt. Do you think there could be an impact there?
Well, again, the estimates from the Congressional Budget Office says basically this will raise the debt by $3 to $4 trillion over the next 10 years. It'll be one of the largest increases in the national debt. While normally I don't worry about the debt, at some point the debt becomes critically important and people won't come to the United States and buy our bonds. We won't know when that happens, but it could happen very quickly if we look at what's happened in Mexico or Argentina or out in Asia during their financial crisis. We could be moving in that direction.
All right, Dr. and Professor Fred Floss from Buffalo State University, thanks for coming on in and taking a break from your summer vacay here.
Well, thank you.
We got intercession
Thank
right
you.
now, obviously,
Right.
with the local colleges and universities. We appreciate your time.